Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Maracle. Maracle, M-A-R-A-C-L-E. One of the organizers for National Aboriginal Day. Actually, we call ourselves Branches of Native Development. We're considered BON. The community here in Hamilton, the Aboriginal community knows us as BON. And we're responsible for basically the cultural and social activities of our community, the urban Aboriginal community here in Hamilton.
Excellent. Can I get you to go like this to your hair? Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Good.
God knows what that's going to look like.
You look great.
Okay.
So let's talk about today. Why is this important for the future of Hamilton, would you consider?
Okay. This is definitely important for the future of Hamilton for the fact of realizing where their roots come from. One of the things that I have worked towards pretty well all my life here as an urban Aboriginal person is making sure that we're not forgotten. So in the sense, it's very important because this is our country. This is our land. We, even though many of us started on reserves, we're coming to the cities. We are coming to the cities. We're the fastest growing population right now, and I think the cities need to be serious and take a serious look at its Aboriginal population and how to accommodate them, because we're no longer confined to the reserves. You know, at one time, many of our people were, we're transient people. We're all over. We followed the buffalo. We followed the animals where the hunting. So we traveled all over. So by putting us on reserves, kind of like corralled us. But the thing is now, as again, urban Aboriginal people, we are expanding. We're coming to the cities, and we are becoming urban Aboriginal people. So in a sense, it's very important that our culture isn't lost. Our culture is maintained, but at the same time, the city also has to take action in the sense of accepting it and working with the Aboriginal people so that it can make it a good place for Aboriginal people to come to as well. Because unfortunately, due to historical trauma, residential school, the 60s scoop, all that stuff, it's important that we identify and start to look at the Indigenous people, Aboriginal people, to give back, or not even to give back, because in a sense, it was taken from us. But we need to be allowed to have our language, to have our culture. So these things are very important for us, because at one time it was taken away. We were not allowed to speak our language, to practice our culture. We weren't allowed. We would have been in jail for all what we're doing right now. If this was back in the 60s, we would be all in jail. The cops would come in and put us in jail, because you couldn't have more than 3 people gather, or you could have been put in jail. So this is so important to what we do, because we can speak the language. People are out there speaking their language and singing in their language. We're listening to drum. We're listening to our culture. We're taking part in our culture. People are learning. They're dancing. And this is important too for Aboriginal people that are urban Aboriginal people, because where do we get this? We don't get this in the city at all. It's not learned in the schools, okay? So it's like we have to maintain this. We are the experts, and we are the ones that are trying to teach others so they can understand where we're coming from. Again, it's very important because it's our time. It's our time to come back. And language is coming back, culture is coming back, ceremonies are coming back. And that is so crucial and critical to our, I don't want to say our survival, but our enhancement of life. Because we're finally getting into a position where we can be ourselves again. And we need to teach that to our younger generations coming up so they can be proud of who they are. We, as Indigenous people, as Aboriginal people, we have a lot to offer. We have a very rich, diverse community. We also have a very rich culture that, a lot of things were taken away from us at one time. And, so many of us are, reclaiming that. We're taking it back and taking ownership and saying, damn it, we're going to do it. And so that's why these kinds of events are important, especially in the city, because we need to also educate others around us. Because I hate to say, Canada does not really teach the true history of what happened to Aboriginal people, right? The residential schools, 60 scoop, all that stuff that happened. It's not taught. So we are the teachers of it. But at the same time, people have to understand too, we do come from a very rich culture, and it should be allowed, And again, this is our country. If anybody should be allowed to drum and dance and have ceremony, it should be us. And we should be able to do it when we need to do it. And I hate to say, there's always so many rules within the city of what we can't do, And we're learning them, but at the same time, we are starting to take back what is ours. I don't know if that helps, but
Fantastic. Do you think, I mean, looking in comparison to the history, how it was and what it is today, do you see a brighter future for Indigenous people
for
when
my
it comes to Hamilton? And
I do. I have to commend Hamilton in the sense, but at the same time, it's because of the community. I've been involved in this community since I was like 20 years old. So, and I have sat on different committees. I just recently, I was on the City of Hamilton Aboriginal Advisory Committee. 4 years I sat on that committee. Not a lot moved forward in 4 years. So, but I'll say there has been an improvement, okay? Slow, but it has been an improvement. Because too, working with, Hamilton has accepted and working with our leadership, right? Hamilton Executive Directors Aboriginal Coalition, like I said, the City of Hamilton Aboriginal Advisory Committee, and even with BOND, Branches of Native Development. Looking at all of these groups, they're realizing there is a live, thriving group of urban Aboriginal people. So they're accepting of us. They're welcoming us to take part in things they're doing, which I think is good for them, because know your Aboriginal community within, right? Because we're not dead and gone, we are here. So it's just a matter of working with us. Myself, I've been very involved, and I've seen small changes, right? And I keep telling the city, yous are not ready for us in coming here, because there's so much more that needs to be done. As I say, if you look at the city, you wouldn't even know that we were here. There's no monuments, there's no statues, there's no structures, there's nothing historical that you could visually see in the city of Hamilton except for one thing. And I can say that right now because at Battlefield, there's a monument there, the Eagle. I don't know if you've seen it, right on the corner of King and Highway 20. Have you seen that? If you see that, in the sense, it's the Eagle. But that was done by David General, and he's from Six Nations. He's an Aboriginal person. That's the first monument to come into the city, and I was a part of that jury. So that's why I look at it as very important what we do, because we need to make change to welcome Aboriginal people here. Just like with what we're doing about trying to bring culture and language. You know, we do that through the schools. And so, yes, we're still little steps, baby steps. Long way to go, right? But at least I feel Hamilton is at least willing to listen and start to participate. So that at least I could say, because I've heard other places, other cities, not so good in the way they treat their Native people, Aboriginal people. And I use all those words because we tend to use all those words. So I just think it's very important. It's very important, and where we really need to get it is in the school system. We need to be educating the children, the babies, so that they know about our true history. So when they get to be older people like myself, they will know what happened to my people. Because many times people say, what's wrong with your people? And I'll say, when you know my history, then you'll know what's wrong with my people. And it's so true, because we have residential schools, 60 scoop, being put on reserves. Basically, anything we did to try to fight things, we were threatened with the law, put in jail. Our children were taken away from us physically. You know, there were so many things that were done wrong. And now is the time. Little baby steps. With the Truth and Reconciliation, we're still baby steps, because even though we've identified it, is anyone working on it, accepting of it? And to be truthful, until the government of Canada starts to teach the true history of what happened to us, because really, there is still genocide today in Canada.